Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I on? How's that? How's that? That's better. Better? Better. Well, welcome everyone. We're a little off schedule with when and where, when and which day we meet, but glad you could make it. I'm Peggy Primo, second president of the League of Women Voters of Citrus County. Glad to see you all here. I would like you to mute your devices so we don't have too much interruption from weirdo music. This meeting presentation is being recorded for members to see. So if someone couldn't make it, you can let them know. Please rise. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you use the volume on that? You can go back and okay. Which dial? No, I didn't. You have to really. We're gonna have to speak really loud with it. You can hear this, right? I'd like to have us pause to reflect on persons from disaster, Helene and Milton hurricane, people who are still struggling. I would also like our moment of silence to include reflection on our past president, Nancy Tomaselli. We had the privilege at our July meeting of seeing Nancy in person and presenting her with a tribute collage to express our gratitude for her leadership. She loved the League. Nancy passed away on September 29th. She will be missed. Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. I'll briefly introduce our board members. Dr. BJ Zell is here. I'm here. She's here. Vicky Iozzia, you will hear from shortly. Jan Paul at the desk. Rosemary Nillis. Deborah Stager. And myself. Great. Welcome to our new member, Marcy Tugel. Am I saying that correctly? Tegel, like the German way. Welcome, Marcy. You have some reminders in your paperwork and also a voter guide from the League of Women Voters. It's objective, that is, it's just the facts, ma'am. And at the back table, you will find more brochures as well as merchandise. Today, you'll find out all about the 6 amendments on the November ballot, which are well explained in the voter guide. For anybody who missed it today, Vicky will reprise her presentation in person on Zoom tonight at 7. To register, see the notes on your reminders. I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker, Maureen Baird. She's just been elected to a 2nd term as the Citrus County Supervisor of Elections. She has worked in the supervisor's office since 1985. That's beaucoup elections, right, Mo? She's a leader among state supervisors of elections as she currently serves on the executive board of Florida Supervisors of Elections. She has truly in-depth knowledge of elections. She's also an energetic ambassador in the community, ensuring that residents of all ages learn and engage as voters. That's why she's here today, to get us up to speed about presidential election security. Please welcome Supervisor of Elections, Maureen Baird.
Well, good afternoon. I just want to tell you, this is my fourth meeting today. I've been on 4 Zooms, mailed out vote by mail ballots, been engaged in supervised voting.
Close to me.
I need to be close? Is that better? Okay, good. So there's so many different things that we're doing right now. I just want to tell you, this is our peak of elections right now. We are our busiest. Yesterday I had a interview with the editorial board at the Chronicle, and they said, "Well, you look awful chipper." I said, "This is my favorite time. We are dotting every last I, we are crossing every T, and you have to do that because what comes down the pipe? All elections are held in hurricane season, right? All of them. And so everything we do is on an emergency basis. We have to have our emergency plans ready, our emergency procedures ready. We have to have extra early voting sites. We have to be able to step up to the plate and be able to function when something happens. That's why it is so important for the Supervisor of Elections office to dot every I, cross every T, and especially be prepared. That's why early preparation means so much in elections. And the more you know about elections, the easier it is to plan this out. Planning this day for at least 18 months, my staff and I. Let me catch you up at where we are right now. I had a phone call with Cord Bird this morning, a Zoom with him and his staff at the Division of Elections. And I tell you that because we keep in constant contact. And I am so thankful to be able to be on the executive board of the Florida Supervisor of Elections because I hear things firsthand. Our county, I'm so proud of our county. Between the Legal Women Voters and all the other organizations, everybody just steps up to the plate and lends a hand. Right now, I have, today, we're setting up early vote sites, getting ready. We'll have 13 straight days of early voting. Please encourage your people to go vote early. And I say that because we have one 17-inch ballot, 2 sides, 6 amendments. It takes me 15 minutes just to read from front to back on that ballot. No less, everybody needs to study that ballot. So right now, we've completed all of our election worker training, which means I've had over 130 training classes since the beginning of the presidential preference primary election. That is a lot of training. Our whole facility is turned into a training facility for a couple of months before every election. We do so many different things that people really don't realize that we do. And if anybody ever wants a tour, wants to come see, please just come do it. But can we wait till after November 5th? November 4th, no? That's not a good yet. Since the presidential preference primary, and we've had all our training classes, right now, I have 378 trained election workers for this election. I have 330 who are already have positions and know where they're going. And I always have a lot on standby. Never know when the next hurricane's coming. You never know when we might need more people. You never know when the changes. I've got 3. I think I had another one come down today for the 4th executive order from the governor. Okay, about hurricane. The first hurricane we had, Helene, we were named in that hurricane, thankfully, because it gives you some leeway. And so I was thankful for that. We'll talk about what those leeways were. And then the second one, they included a lot more counties. And then we sent them a list from the Florida Supervisor of Elections Executive Committee of things that some counties might need. Pinellas County is struggling. Okay, they have a lot of damage down there. And we'll talk about the damage we had here and how we recovered. Some of the things that we've done this week, on the 10th of October, we did the logic and accuracy testing and of the entire voting system and of the audit system. You know, the audit system proves that the tabulation system is working exactly how it should be. So both of those systems, the tabulation system and the audit system, came out with 100% accuracy. And they should. That's exactly what they should do. And our canvassing board is always well pleased when everything, everything, they can see exactly how the process goes. We did have, I think we had one observer from the Democratic Party who showed up, and I was thankful for that because sometimes we don't get any observers, and all this is a lot of work, and we like people to see what we're doing. About 250 vote-by-mail ballots are still being mailed out every single day. And that makes a difference because, vote-by-mail ballots as of December 31st, 2023, we had to dump all the vote-by-mail ballots we had in our system and start over, all the requests. And so I had to go back and get all these requests. Right now, I'm up to a little over 30,000 requests in the system. When I left today, I think I had about maybe 11,500 back. And so I'm thankful because they'll be coming back every day. And the more people that I can get to come and to put in their vote by mail ballot, the less stress it'll put on election day. Okay. The more people that vote before election day, because it's going to be a very busy election, I expect about an 80% turnout. And as I have an 80% turnout and a long ballot, and it just makes for lines on election day. So more people who want to vote early, have them go vote at our newest early vote site, and that's at Central Ridge Community Center on the 77th Civic Circle. I put that into play in the 2022 elections because of the 2024 presidential election coming up. I've added one new precinct and one new early voting site. Okay, so it's really important that we keep up with the demographics and how busy we're going to be at each voting location so that we can tend to the voters and make sure they have the equipment, the parking, the election workers, and everything they need when they go to a site to vote. Some of the things that we've done, the last day to request a vote by mail ballot is October 24th by 5 p.m. The deadline to turn in a vote by mail ballot is November the 5th. By 7 p.m., and that can only be turned in on election day at the Supervisor of Elections office. Vote by mails can be turned in at any early vote site when they're open. And the early vote site schedule is on my website. Election day, vote by mail ballots must be dropped off, like we said, at the elections office. We have a new system. Is anybody in here vote by mail? Anybody? Okay, I get my vote by mail ballot too. And we have a new system called Ballot Tracks, and we just put that into play, and it's a software. And that software, what that does is it will let you know that the ballot's been mailed, that we received your request, the ballot's been mailed out, and that when we receive your ballot. But the better thing about that too is maybe if somebody forgot to sign their ballot or some information is missing, we will notify you again and say, hey, come fix this. We'll give you a cure affidavit and let you know that you can come fix that ballot before 2 days after the election. Did everybody who did not, which it looks like a lot of people in here got a vote by mail ballot, receive a sample ballot in the mail? If you right, that's right. If you get a vote by mail ballot, we don't mail you a sample ballot because you already have your ballot with you. So everybody who did not receive a vote by mail ballot got a sample ballot in the mail. And we are encouraging those folks to please read that, study that ballot, mark it, and take it with you when you do go vote. And hey, you folks, if you know anybody, you have children or grandchildren, take them with you when you go vote. Or find a child, but please ask their parents first. Don't just take any child you see. My son called yesterday. He said, "Oh, me and my wife, we're going to go vote. We're going to go vote this afternoon, like at 2:00." I said, "Yeah, the kids don't get out till 4. Wait and take them with you." It's so important that the children see what the parents are doing. Can I help you? Are you good? back there? Okay, I thought maybe you needed something. Oh, you're counting. Okay, making sure you got plenty of people here. Okay, if you need something, you just holler. So it's really important that they have the opportunity to go see people vote, go see a voting site. What does it look like? Because a lot of parents are going to vote when the kids aren't there because it's just easier. And I get that, but we are trying to train them children from young until they get old. That is how they become voters, by a learned behavior. Oh, by law, we're required to go into every high school and do a voter education program and vote. I'd let them have their own election. So we do that. But since I've been in Crystal River office over here at Metacrest, we have our training room. So we've invited a bunch of different schools and whoever will come. We got a homeschool group that comes to us a couple times a year. Seven Rivers Christian School has been there. Eminence Middle School. There's a primary school there. The Leadership Citrus. And we have them come in and we do a presentation. But that's an early vote site too. So we take them right into the early vote site and we let them vote, just like they would do if they were at an election. They put their ballot through a DS-200. And so it's really important that they learn about voting. So as I'm going to come to 2025, and that'll be kind of a down year, we will go right back into voter education with the students. And that's a very important subject for me personally, because I want those children to know how important voting it is. Because if I can't grab them to vote, because I feel like in the environment that we live in now, some of them are becoming very apathetic and not voting. And it's important that we teach them how important voting is. Some of the other things that we're doing is, remember that early voting is open from October 21st through November 2nd. That's 13 days, 8:30 to 6 every day. There's no excuse people can't vote. We have the 5 early voting sites, and our slowest day, if you want to go, is on Sundays. Sunday is always a slow day for our early vote sites, and they would welcome the business on Sundays. So let's talk about the hurricane and the impact that the hurricane has on elections. I don't think there's been a year that we have not had a major hurricane that has severely impacted a county or two in Florida. Lee County was affected in 2022. In 2018, Hurricane Michael hit Bay County and the Panhandle at a Category 5 just weeks before the election, just like we had with Helene and Milton. Our southern counties like Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, but even the counties on the other side of the coast have been affected. And so all of these things make a difference. In the Pinellas County, they lost early vote sites, polling places. Well, because Pinellas County is on so much of that county is on the water, part of their election staff, the same thing. They lose their homes and those kind of things. I mean, look how many people we have in Crystal River that have lost their home, and Homosassa, that was so unexpected. So a couple of things that we're keeping up with here. We did not have any damage to our office. We had a couple of roof leaks, but we know where they are. We put a bucket under there and we didn't have any problem. They're getting ready to redo that roof this year. So, but nothing to speak of. I think it was Jan. Was Jan, you saying that we had those ADA ramps at our office, and they're so high that I don't ever think that water could get into my building. Neither can people, but no. No, but anyway, so we've had no flooding there at all. We lost 2 precincts in Crystal River to flooding. We didn't lose them. We got them back. So both of those precincts are, one is the First Baptist Church of Crystal River, which is precinct 104 right there on Citrus Avenue. They have 3 sets of buildings, the offices, I think the sanctuary, and the fellowship hall where we vote. Well, they're all at a different level. So they were all 3 flooded, but they're back up and running. Then we lost precinct 105, the city of Crystal River, in last year's in Idalia. That got flooded. So we moved over to the Church of God on Tallahassee Road. Well, that has the same thing, 3 tiers of buildings, and they got flooded. But they're back up and running. Pastor Ronnie Reed, he was back up and running several days after that. Him and his whole crew got out there and stripped those whole buildings. So as far as we're good, the only thing I'm doing right now is watching that river rise. Okay, because the river will rise in places you never expected. So we're watching that. We're watching our polling sites. And so I don't think it'll be a problem, but hey, you just never know. We don't know what weather we're holding for the next 2 weeks. But you know what? I'm not in control of this. God is. I'm not in control. I can't be in control. There's just way too much of this here. So a couple of the things that we wanted to talk about is, and maybe you can help us get this message out. This is a message that we all over Florida is the same thing, and we have dealt with this for years, but really don't know how we can come and how we can handle this. Voters don't know the difference between an early vote site and election day polling site. So on election day, I have hundreds of people show up at an early vote site to vote. Well, we voted here before. We voted here last time. Well, they early voted. So I have an article coming out pretty soon in the Chronicle about an early voting site versus election day voting. That is a big message to get across because people want to show up like at the Crystal River early vote site to vote on election day. Well, it's not a polling place, nor is it their polling place. You know, on election day is your last opportunity to vote. And on election day, you must go to the polling precinct that's listed on your voter information card that is tied to your residential address, your precinct boundary lines per Florida statutes. And on an early vote site, anybody can go anywhere. So no wonder. I'm confused now. And so it is confusing, but it's a hard message to get out there. I have to take early vote sites that are not polling places on election day, and I have to put an election worker there with the information that when the voter comes, they can send them to the correct precinct. I actually send them with an electronic poll book, and they look it up, and they send the voter home. Assassin must send 500 or 600 away. I know in Crystal River office, they can date our office because they voted there before, but it's not a precinct. Big message. And all over the state, I've asked all my constituents, how do you handle this? What do you do? We've done everything. We've tried everything. So signs, this is not a polling place. It doesn't matter. You know, anyway, so I don't want to, it inundates the libraries with a lot of people. So we put somebody there because the libraries are so good to us. We use all the libraries for well, most of them for early voting and or precinct selection day. And so we're so thankful for that. So that's one message that's tough for us to get out. So let's talk a little bit about security, because that's what we came to talk about. Where we are right now in elections is we are busy doing a little bit of everything. We're doing our last minute work with our poll workers. We are packing all the last minute supplies. We're bundling up our ballots and our voting equipment to go to the polls and early voting sites. And so in that, everybody has a job at my office. And when we're staff alone in the office, we're still always on lockdown. My office is always stay on high security. Some of the things that I've done since I've been in office for security purposes, because we moved over here in 2019, we had the 2020 elections, and then I came back in 2022, and I started applying for security grants. Those security grants I have gotten thousands of dollars and no match security grants for our county. Some of the things we did is the building I'm in is an old building. It's from 1985, and it had little sliding windows. I could knock it out with my hand. So with security grant, I replaced all the windows, and all the windows are 6 panes, and they weigh about 240 pounds each, right? In fact, they came up when they came to look at our windows when we do some security with the other constitutional officers. They came up and take a look at my windows. I mean, you knock on them and you don't even hear anything. And so these are some of the things. We put more cameras up inside, but I put plenty more up outside. I've got security surveillance 24/7. I have sensors inside the building. So say if somebody got past my security system or they got past a camera, anything that moves in that building will send information. I get texts all day long, but the texts are from my office saying this door was opened. If my back bay door opens, I get a text. If somebody comes into the building, when the security alarm's on, I get a text. When they go out and set it, I get a text. So we really are high on keeping security year-round in our building. That way, it is second nature to my staff. And even when we have election worker training, I let the election workers know there's cameras and sensors everywhere. This is the room that you'll stay in. And I have hallway monitors because that way they can't get any place in the building. And my building is set up in such a manner that there's double doors everywhere. And those doors are locked and they have badge access. And depending on what your job is in the office is what badge access you have. I have full access. I didn't for the primary, but I do now. And so some of these things are so very important. You must layer your security layer by layer by layer. And as you do that, you become where you have everything, where your security is tight. Because you know what? I will never say never, because people get hit all the time. Okay, we have some of the strongest cybersecurity around in our office. We have to undergo assessments twice a year from the state. And they come down and do two kinds of assessments, a physical assessment, and they do a network assessment. And we are forever doing really good on our assessments, and I'm so thankful. Anything that they mention, we go purchase. So I've got layers and layers of security on our servers and on our systems. We have a lot of part-time workers that come in, but they don't even have email. Okay, because email is a good way to get something bad and click on it. Okay, so only our full-time workers have email, and we have constant checks with we use KnowBe4 to take training classes on passwords and all these different things that could hurt your system. And we learn about those. We have cybersecurity classes. We're part of CISA. We have meetings weekly and monthly with the Division of Elections, with our Secretary of State. Some of the other things that we have just for election security, we have a backup generator. I've got a huge backup generator because you know what? When will electric go down? Election night at 7 p.m. And so we have our tabulation system, our audit system, our computers, and the things that are vital to us in that moment go down. And so for Hurricane Helene, I think I went down for 20 minutes and that was it. But as soon as you go down, the generator kicks on. So, I mean, I really wasn't down, but that's the only time the generator comes on, is if you go down. And I went down 20 minutes and that was it. And I'm thankful for that. We also have our signature verification system. That signature verification, verification certification. Every person in my office takes the signature verification process and the certification to what they can do is after they take that, they get a certification on it, and then they can process vote by mail ballots, petitions for candidate petitions, initiative petitions, and until they've had that, they can't serve in my office unless they've had that information, because it's so vital to what we do. Our canvassing board is required to do it as well. So the canvassing board that we have that's over the election, they all have a signature verification certification as well. I do it, we all do it. That's another thing that we do in-house. We have two-factor authentication on every computer that we have in that office. So a person can put their password in, but they've got to have their digital ID to put in as well. And it changes every time they log in. So I feel like our system is extremely secure on the lockdown to staff and to the public. One of the things that we do, and you might not know this about vote by mail, but vote by mail ballot, to get a vote by mail ballot request, you have to give me the last 4 digits of your social security number or your driver's license number. And you had to, if you wanted the ballot sent to a different address that's on your voter registration, you had to sign for that. That's one of the things that the governor lifted, okay, because I have displaced voters And so he lifted that signature. So right now, and it's only been I've only got till the 24th. What's today? The 16th, 17th? I've only got to the 24th to mail a ballot. So it's probably been it'll be a total of probably a little over 2 weeks that he lifted that. So I feel good with that. I don't have a problem. But I still do have about 200, 250 ballots going out a day. And I think that'll continue to happen. One of the things is that we're up to, the law states now you have to order your ballot 12 days before the election. So the cutoff for vote by mail ballot is the 24th at 5 p.m. Some of the other things that we do for security is we talk about our two-factor authentication. We have a two-factor authentication on our computer, but to get access to rooms where you need to go, depending on what is in that room, if it's something like a ballot room or a tabulation room, you have two accesses. You have to access your badge and you have to access a key ID to get to that room. And so only certain members of my staff can get in certain places. And that is so very vital to an election organization. Some last thoughts that I have for you is, if you know voters who have not changed their voter registration address and or name changes, please ask them to call my office and do that before Election Day. We can find out the fastest way to get that done, because it's going to hold up people on Election Day, on our voters. Visit our website at Vote Citrus for any election information that you're looking for. Everybody in the state of Florida, and has as long as I've ever been here, needs a photo signature ID to vote. So think about that. My suggestion is, if you're comfortable, go vote early and get it done. When you vote early on election, or you vote on Election Day, you're voting the same way. You're getting a ballot and putting it through the DS-200. So there's no difference. And if you voted by mail, great. We'll have that taken care of now. We are at a point where we're election ready. I'm just waiting for the election. And so everybody, just please go vote. Okay. Remember that God is our refuge and strength, and that I have to be still and know that he is God, and that he is the Lord of hosts, and he's with us, and the God of Jacob is my fortress. And all this other nonsense that goes on out here, I just have to let that roll off. Elections are so important to me, and it's important that we're able to move Citrus County forward and just have a great election on Election Day, as well as early voting. Do you have any questions? Do I have some? Yes, sir.
You talk about the paper election ballot that you feed through your machine.
Yes.
Reports it, I guess, that gets you tabulation.
Right.
What do you do with those forms after they go through?
The ballots? The ballots, everything we have in election that is election materials has an archival value. The archival value on a paper ballot is 22 months. So I have to save them for 22 months. And so one of the things that we bought with our grant money was a cage, because when we moved over there, the building was kind of bare and we had no place to put our archive. So we have a big cage that's built right into the warehouse that is sealed off and locked.
So any question about the electronics? You've got the paper back from right?
I do. And you know what? I like that. I do like that. But let me tell you something about our second way of knowing that the tabulation system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. I have two standalone systems. One is the tabulation and the other is the audit system. The audit system is not from the same vendor that the tabulation system is from. So there are two systems. I've worked with this gentleman since, I think it's around 2007. And he came to me at a conference and says, Mo, how can I make a system that audits 100% of your elections? So we talked and talked and talked. And the next thing I know, he called me back. He says, Mo, I pulled it together. I got a team. I just need one thing from you. I need to borrow your ballots so we can count them. So after the archival value was done, myself and 6 other counties were like the prototype counties. And we would go, he'd bring his whole team, his engineers, he'd bring everybody to us, his engineers, his software writers, everything. And he had this whole process. And I'm gonna tell you something, it was like perfection. And you could, if I wanted to see a ballot that came up on the screen, it would tell me to go to box 12, 146 ballots down. So anyway, he perfected that. He actually, the Division of Elections has never certified anything but voting equipment because they have their own bureau to certify voting equipment. And they certified this equipment not too long ago. When I came in office, we never purchased it. It was expensive. But in the time and the place where we sat, when I came in office, I purchased that system. And so I count my ballots as I'm tabulating the vote by mail ballots. I tabulate in trays of certain amounts. I tabulate it over there, and then I take it to the audit system, and I make sure that if I ran 400 ballots through this system, I run 400 through this system. They're not attached. They're not networked. They have nothing to do with each other. And so every election, since the 2022, I guess I did all through the 22 elections too, and the two past elections, I do 100% audit of our elections to know, is there a discrepancy? Yes, there's a slight discrepancy, and that discrepancy happens because you have human hands marking ballots. If you gave me 100,000 perfect ballots, I'd give you a perfect election. Sir, you have no idea what I get back on these vote by mail ballots. That they've had coffee, breakfast, scribbled, leaned on, okay? And so there'll be a slight discrepancy because it doesn't count ballots. It counts ballots to tell you what your card count is. But what else it tells you is it counts ovals. So I'll have millions of ovals for this election. And so if there's a discrepancy in anything, it'll show you, we think the discrepancy is in this ballot or this oval. And so you can go look at it. I'm just taken by that. So, but can I go back and hand count them or put them in? I can. Yes, ma'am.
I just have, I wondered if you could give me an approximation of the number of mail-in to early to in-person voting here in Citrus County.
It's different every election. And until it happens for this election, we really won't know it. I'm hoping I will have I don't think my largest amount will be vote by mail because of the turnover of requests, those kind of things. In 2022 general election, I voted 26,000 vote by mail requests. I voted that many people. But I sent out 38,000. I only have 30,000 in my system right now. So that might be a little lower, but we're getting there, okay? And then I'm hoping that opening that other early vote site will really increase and open the days that we're open. We usually open for 9, we're open for 13 days, and we're usually open from 10 to 6 on an early vote site, and we chose 8:30 to 6, and hopefully we'll have tons of people going to vote early. I'm trying to take the pressure off Election Day, because Election Day voting is the last opportunity that anybody gets to vote. I'm for Election Day voting, but it's the last opportunity, and we will have 20% or more voters come out to vote that don't usually vote. So if they have an issue, they're in the wrong precinct, it holds them up, and it holds the poll worker staff up as well. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll get 1 second. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you mentioned something about the signatures on the vote by mail.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's signature, because of the eyesight problems, has changed considerably. Should we go and go to the office?
Did you already vote by mail?
No.
Okay. Yes,
You have voted by mail in the past.
but this election? Okay, are you voting by mail this election? Okay.
We were planning to until I thought about the signature issues.
Okay, well, what you can do is go in, and I would go in and order one right away if you want it, and have him fill out the form. What'll happen is, if it doesn't match, you're immediately going to get that ballot tracks. You're going to get notification saying, make sure you give us an email address so we can put that in. And you're going to get notification saying, hey, your signature didn't match. Here's this cure, go fill it out and bring it back. But if you haven't filled out a new voter registration application, we'll have the newest one on file. And I'm going to tell you something. That is not our signature issue, really, because I'm telling you, as people get older, it's the same signature. It's just a little different, and those are a problem. You can still tell if that's that person. After you've been through so many signature trainings like we have, you can still tell. It's the ones who make 0 zeros this time and then next time do a line. Okay, nah, you know. So, but you're welcome. Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, give me 1 second. Oh, you had one? Oh, okay.
I have a question
Sure.
about if a person does get a absentee ballot, is registered, and then say a hurricane or whatever comes in a week before and the day of election, their address has changed. What happens? I mean,
That's an easy call. That's why we're having all of these executive orders from the governor. One of the things that happened is I immediately called the Crystal River, Homosassa, Lecanto, Hernando, and the Denellen post offices. I have meetings. In fact, that's why I got off of the Zoom to come here with our USPS district manager. We are working with every postal service because not only is that here, ma'am, it is in North Carolina. I have a lot of snowbirds from North Carolina that have been devastated when Milton got up there and met that northern storm. Okay, they have been devastated up there. So for displaced voters, we have a lot of things in place. All they have to do is walk into our office, tell us what happened, we'd let you vote. Whether it be on election day or wherever, or you go to a polling precinct, we change your address right there and we take care of you. Give me 1 second. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you, Maureen.
Sure.
As a brand new resident, which means I stand currently still a resident of the state of Montana. I'm still in the right for knowledge, so I appreciate being here and learning knowledge and power. In your opinion, I'm a mail out voter in the state of Montana. What is the most secure way of returning our ballots?
To Montana, to Montana. I would get them in the mail, but I'll do it really quickly.
Registered? Yes,
I would call them and ask them,
I did.
and what they say. Oh, okay.
Registered.
Registered mail. A lot of people FedEx. We get FedExes every day. That's a good one.
Have a preference.
From registered to FedEx, I wouldn't, especially, but you need to get them in the mail so you make sure they have them. I don't know what their deadline is. Every state is different, but we do FedExes here. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You spoke a while ago about the early voting places
Mhm.
and the fact that you didn't have to be on the opposite side. Oh,
Right.
why is that not something you could do with the day of voting?
Two reasons. One is because that's how the statutes is written, and we have to go according to Florida statutes. We had something happen today or yesterday that we got on with the Secretary of State this morning, said, that can't happen. You've got to change that law. And he heard us, and there's some things that might need to be changed. The reason you can't is when you go to a polling place, I have enough ballots for the Floral City precinct, say, and everybody that lives in that precinct, and they're all 408 voters, precinct 408, and they vote there. When you go to an early vote site, I have ballot on demand. What happens is you sign in on the electronic poll book, and it brings up your record saying, oh, you're Mr. Smith, and you vote in precinct 206 in Beverly Hills. And it's attached to your voter record, and it prints out your ballot right there. So it gives you a 206 ballot. Or I would have to have all the ballot styles at every polling place, which I can't do that anyways. It's against the law. And so and even some people do use the ballot on demand on election day precincts. I would not go there. It's not cost effective. I can have 1,000 ballots at a precinct that are cost effective at, 30 cents a piece to me versus having all these ballot on demand printers, keeping up the upkeep, what do you call it? The insurance on them, the paper, that kind of stuff. So.
You're saying you would be overwhelmed numbers wise. Polling place, the day of voting polling place, if you tried to do it the same way you do it.
No, I wouldn't be overwhelmed. It's the Florida statutes. That would, yeah, to use ballot on demand is expensive, at the polling places. I wouldn't want to chance it because only have one day to get that right. I have one moment and one day to get polling precincts and voters right. But the Florida statute doesn't allow me to vote more than that precinct, those people within that boundary line, because by the and you know what that's tied to? That's tied to your U.S. congressional, Senate districts, House districts, school boards, county commission districts. And so when I give you a ballot, it has all your districts in it. Citrus County just happens to be back to one district for everything right now. And so because of that, it's a little easier. And we vote county commissioners countywide. Many counties don't. I mean, we do school boards. We vote them countywide. So it is easier that way. But Florida statutes is what does not allow me to allow people to vote anywhere on election day.
Sir, do you have any idea how many people conflict with that?
Well, that was my first thing I said about early votes versus precincts. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
People come to the precinct and they say, oh, I can't vote.
Right. Here.
They don't go to where.
No, that's not how we work here. What we work here is when you walk up to the EVID, you check in. When it checks in, it says, oh, you're not a voter here, but here's a slip of paper. This is where you do go vote today.
Still, they stuff's out. It's late.
How do you know?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how people?
I would know that because people would call and complain about that. I would. They would call, my workers would call and say, hey, I have Mr. Smith here. Do I have the one or two that's going to happen to this election? Absolutely, because people waited till then and decided to roam by this precinct and go in. And so people have to take some responsibility. I cannot put any more ads or press releases in the paper than I do. I am in the paper every day with voting, or try to. The free ones go in whenever, but I try to put even paid ads in. Yes, ma'am.
For the amendments, who is it that decides what the description is of that amendment that goes on the sample ballot or the ballot? Who makes that decision?
The wording for the amendments. Okay.
Our next present.
That is the next presentation. You're right. And, I'll speak a little bit about amendments. I would never, as a supervisor of elections, tell you what to do, where to go to find your information or anything like that. The only thing I can point you to is we just got our amendment booklets in at the elections office, and you're welcome to come by and pick some up. And it has the summary, but it has the full wording for the amendment. And you can go to the website at the Division of Elections and look up the full wording. But that is the constitutional amendment wording. I believe it has to pass through judicial, doesn't it?
Once they're on this ballot, it's
Right. They have to pass through judicial after they get qualified for the ballot, which they do through initiative petitions. And then it has to go through judicial review. It has really nothing to do with local or even at the Division of Elections. They'll go flip them into Spanish for us, so we'll have both languages, but that sets up there. Yeah.
I'd like to let Mo get back to work, so we'll do one more question.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, Rosemary.
Okay. Asking this on behalf of everyone who maybe think about it after. When are mail in and early vote ballots tabulated? Are they tabulated as they arrive, or does it all happen election night?
That's a great question. Do you know how election night, 7:00, we post that stuff on our Facebook as the results? Well, Florida statutes has several laws. One of them is I have only until election night at 7:30 to post my election results for all early voting and all vote by mail ballots. So the early voting is like election day. You go in and you put it into the DS200 and it's tabulated right there. And it's done. It's tabulated. We'll upload those. Everything has to be uploaded the Monday before the Tuesday election into the tabulation system. And then the vote by mail ballots are done in batches and in days, depending on when canvassing meets. I'll have one more question. Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it, and have a good day. And go vote, please. And take somebody's child with you.
Thank you so much. Here's a little gift. Thanks for joining us.
Mostly thanking properly do.
Yes, I was taking it.
Thank you. Ready? Okay. We have we have some extra announcements, but I'd like you to, be able to jump right into our next topic. So we'll do the announcements last. I just wanted to say about ballot tracks. I dropped off my vote by mail ballot. I barely got home and I had an email that it was recorded. So it's pretty cool. And you can figure that out on the website if, like we used to do, but the ballot tracks is fast. I'm happy to introduce Vicky Iozzia, who'll be talking about the 6 amendments on your ballot. As I mentioned, they're also well described in the voter guide that's on your chairs. Vicky, you probably know already. You know her if you've been coming to our meetings over the years. She wears many hats. She's an English language tutor. She's a companion to animals, especially cats and a certain hippopotamus. She is a master Toastmaster. I made that up. Is it true?
Toastmaster?
Master Toastmaster. Distinguished Toastmaster. A bestie of movie stars. You'll have to ask. An educator, a crime patroller, and the first president of this chapter. You're invited to follow along on the little short note-taking page or with your voter guide as Vicky explains the 6 amendments. Madam President.
Thank you. It did this last time. Wait, is it on? Turn it off or turn it on? Man, it's so cool when this works. And it doesn't look like it's going to. Just come on yourselves, I'll be right back. I'm gonna stretch before we start. Boy, Mo is a hard act to follow. Does she know her stuff? I spoke in another county and we got on the subject of supervisors of election and I said, oh, we have a very excellent one here. I won't tell you where it was, but they said, well, we don't here. This is a PowerPoint that has been researched and presented by the Florida League of Women Voters. And I like it. I have written some of them, so I really like them, but I really like this. I did not write this one. And I'm going to tell you why I like the way they organize it. Because I'm going to show you what it says on the ballot. And you're going to go, really? Am I supposed to read that? Remember years ago, before the Obama administration, when you went to go pay your credit card bill? And it was written in all gobbledygook? And then afterwards, it would tell you if you don't pay the whole thing, you will have it paid off in so much. I wish that would happen with these amendments. But by the time I'm finished here, I want you to be able to understand, to know exactly what you want to put on your ballot. It's going to tell you the title of the amendment. It's going to show you the text, and I won't read it to you. You can look at it. You're going to see it on your ballot. It's going to give you a summary. It's going to tell you what a yes vote is. It's going to tell you what a no vote is. And it's going to tell you who supports and who opposes each amendment. So we start off with a little commercial here when it works. And we are the League of Women Voters. We are political, which means that the people in the Florida League and in the National League research issues and take stands about them, but we don't support political candidates. It was established in 1920, right around the year that
Women got, actually 6 months before women got the right to vote. And men are welcome in the League of Women Voters. Nationwide, it's about 20% that are men. And our passion and the reason that I'm here and the reason that I love it so much is because we serve the voters and we give people information. We advocate when we feel it's necessary, but we educate. And we are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which puts us in direct conflict. Thank you. See, that's why I love my people here. They don't let me trip over my words. In direct conflict with what's going on with the Florida government. Florida elections happen every 2 years. The governor can serve 2 4-year terms. Governor DeSantis cannot run in the next election. However, he can run in the election afterward if he doesn't make it for president. We know which one he would prefer. So our senators can have 2 4-year terms. Our House of Representatives can have 4 2-year terms for 8 years, and they're elected every 2 years. And the people in the government, in the state government that have term limits and are elected are the governor and the legislatures. So you know who's going to be on your ballot, right? President, Senate seat, all the House of Representatives in Florida. And all these people, judges, Court of Appeals. Now, I'm looking out at you, and you do not look like people who appear before judges. You look like people who obey the law. And you might say to yourself, I don't know these people. What am I supposed to do? That handout that I gave you is going to have information on all of them so that you can read it. And here come the 6 constitutional amendments. State government, like the federal government, follows the Constitution. That tells them what they can legally do. And the amendments must pass by 60%. 59, no good. 61 is fine. So you might be wondering, I wondered this for a long time. I learned a lot from doing this. Where do these amendments come from? And I'm going to tell you each one where they came from. They can come from the legislature. And most of the ones I'm going to talk to you about did come from the legislature. They need 3/5 approval by both houses. They can come from citizen initiatives. And there's somebody here, a couple of people here that know a lot about citizens initiatives. You could talk to Peg or Jean later on if you're interested in that. Because if a citizen group wants to get something on the ballot, they need to have 8% of the number of voters who participated turn in petitions. And this year, that is 891,523. Then those signatures have to be validated. Then it has to go through a judge who approves it. And it has to be from at least 14 of Florida's 28 legislative districts. So you can see they don't make it very easy to do that. Then there is the Constitutional Revision Commission. We don't have to worry about that because that's not going to meet again until 2037. The Taxation and Budget Reform Commission, they're not doing anything now. They just deal with the money. And the Constitutional Convention, which can be called, but there's not much chance that that's going to be happening in the near future. I am going to do each amendment with you, and then I'll take questions, and we'll go on to the next one. So here we go. If you need a lot of information about this, where did Rosemary go? There you put your head down. Rosemary is passionate about that. She stays up all night worrying about this. Partisan school board elections. This is what appears on your ballot. Wasn't it Seinfeld who said yada, yada, yada? So let me give you the summary. Right now, school board elections are nonpartisan. What does that mean? Your school board nominees don't say, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. If this measure goes through, then people who are running for the school board will tell you, I'm a Republican or a Democrat. And you might say, so what? But as we go into this, you'll see that it has some repercussions. Florida is a closed primary state, which means if you're a Democrat, you can vote in the Democrat primary. If you're a Republican, you can vote in the Republican primary. If you're non-affiliated, you can't vote in the primary elections. So if there are only people running in one party, then everybody can vote in the primary election. If you vote yes on this, it means that from now on, there'll be partisan school board elections, and every candidate who runs will be a partisan candidate. Now I'm going to give you both sides of this. That's what the League of Women Voters is doing. They're saying that if you vote yes, it would increase transparency of the candidate. If you vote no, that maintains the status quo. And in a closed election, only voters from one party would elect the person to win the primary for that party. So it could exclude up to 1/3 of the voters. Now, where did this come from? Go backwards, go forwards, there we go. Came from the legislature. And those are the votes. The current political makeup of the Florida legislature is the Senate is 28 Republicans, 12 Democrats. The House is 85 Republicans, 35 Democrats. I can see you checking with those figures. Who's supporting this? Yes, the League of Women Voters is supporting it. You know, I did this presentation yesterday and I flubbed up and everybody called me on it immediately. Thank you so much. Now I know you're really listening. Opposing it is the League of Women Voters. And supporting it is the Florida legislature. Any questions on Amendment 1? Yes, sir.
Did you say that someone who doesn't declare that they're a Republican or Democrat cannot become a school board member?
You cannot vote.
Someone that does not,
They're like independent or they just don't, they're not.
the way it is now, they don't declare their party.
They don't declare that party.
They don't.
So, but yes means
That means that we will have on the ballot, it will be Republican, Democratic.
yeah.
When you're talking about the candidate, not the vote,
Right,
the candidate.
right, the candidate.
Clear.
Mhm.
If they don't have an affiliation, if they don't, like they're independent or something.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they can't.
no, it doesn't mean they can't. Right now, it makes no difference what party or if they subscribe to any political party. It doesn't become a factor, but it will be.
Pass, then an independent voter wouldn't be able to vote.
An independent voter would not be able to vote in a partisan, in a
Close primary.
in a closed primary. They couldn't vote for the other party.
Which is where the election law in the South. Yes.
Yes, would you say that again, please?
Right, for local. Who are candidates are elected. So if you can't vote in a primary because you're a NPA or a minor party, then you may not get a say in who's your school board.
Yeah, for example, they were all Republican sheriff candidates. And the person who won for the sheriff candidates becomes the sheriff. It doesn't have to go to the general election. because it's over in the primary. Yes,
Well, I was just gonna clarify that as well. So if you vote no, everybody gets a chance to vote. It's a nonpartisan, it would be a nonpartisan, and everybody would get to vote.
that's correct.
You vote yes within your limits. And it's one, several.
That is correct.
Would you add something?
Sure.
I think it does oppose it, but one of the reasons is access to voting, as we've just talked. That sometimes even 2/3 of voters are eliminated, because of certain aspects of voting in primaries. But the other thing, the other reason that the league is so opposed is because it politicizes public education. And the league's belief is we believe in public education, keep politics out.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yes,
Well, when you said that, one of the reasons that it was proposed, those who are in favor of it, saying it better helps you identify the political nature of a candidate, so you would have a better idea how they might decide things.
yes, that's what they say.
You could mention too that the law that says you don't have to live here to, if Amendment 1 is passed, the candidate doesn't have to live in the county.
They don't have to now.
That's a separate law.
Yeah,
That law was passed in 2023, so that an out of district candidate can run for school board. The reasoning was that, well, they can do it for other offices, but combined with amendment law. Now somebody from Miami could come and run in Citrus. They just didn't do it. But combine that with partisan elections, what do you think you're gonna get?
right. Right now, the law is they can run if they don't live here, but if they
Yeah.
win, then they have to move
Yeah,
here.
maybe their party chooses them to run somewhere to bring an agenda.
Okay, let's move on to the right to fish and hunt. And this would place hunting and fishing ahead of other non-lethal means for managing Florida wildlife. There it is.
Do we know who brought this up? Who brought my questions?
Yes. Yes, you will know. I'm not going to tell you now. I'll tell you in a minute.
Sometime.
Do you want to know now? Florida legislature proposes.
Told the legislature that this is.
We're going to get to that with who supports it. It's happened yesterday too. Everybody was just like a half step ahead of me, which is good because I know you're interested and you know what's going on. It makes a constitutional right for people to fish and hunt. And when I was reading up on this, and they said, well, why would we want this? I said, well, other states have it. There are other states that have this rule. And it would declare hunting and fishing would be the way to manage fish and wildlife. It will not change the way it's written at this time, Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission's powers.
Are you taking questions now?
No,
Oh.
okay, creates a constitutional right. I'm glad you're laughing. I wouldn't want to offend you. If you say no, it maintains the status quo regarding fishing and hunting. Did I skip over yes?
No, yeah.
I did. Yes, I did. I said that. I have to keep up with myself here. Supporting organizations. Sport fishing, Deer Association. And I didn't even know there was an International Order of Theodore Roosevelt until I studied this. Opposing organizations, the league does not take a stand on this, but as you could think, wildlife organizations oppose it.
Why? Why would they oppose it? For example, just so I better understand something.
Why would they oppose it? Because it could result in wildlife being killed.
It could result in lining up in your backyard, because they have a constitutional right.
I know somebody said that. That must have been in a commercial or something. Do you still want to ask your question now?
I would like to know, in the opponents, they will paper,
Yes,
it talks about traditional methods, the phrase traditional methods. One of the things that, the way I understand it, the amendment would put back in place traditional methods of taking care of the wildlife.
I think they're still there.
Which includes netting, gill netting. That was taken out, gill netting was eliminated from
20
part
years.
of a certain species.
Yes, this says it will not change any of the rules that are in place now. That's what this says.
Well, this paper says the phrase traditional methods could be interpreted as a return to currently prohibited methods of hunting and fishing, such as steel traps, spear fishing, and gill nets. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yes, well, what I'm saying is this would not change it, but using this could make those changes if people say we have a constitutional right to it.
It also, this would be the preferred method of managing wildlife, instead of having the agency do it. Just you going out and hunting and fishing with whatever method, the third method of, I don't think we're qualified to know how many certain type of fish there are and, let us just kill them all.
Yes,
What about trapping?
what about it?
Traditional. With trapping, is trapping legal in Florida?
And this doesn't directly, I'll say it again, this doesn't directly represent that. However, with this as a constitutional right, there could be other laws that come as a result of it. I'm trying to be bipartisan here. Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, well, I understand earlier when I'm reading that right now, the Fish and Wildlife Commission make changes anyway. But by changing this, we have a say so in how they can change it. If they want to make a change, it has to become to us and vote for it before they can change.
This doesn't say that. All it says is people have a constitutional right to vote.
They can make change anything they want right now. But I would understand from what I heard in the hearing, but if we pass this, they have to come and vote for us before they can make the big changes.
Yeah, just like they did about the state parks, right?
Maybe you're wrong. I read them.
If there are going to be laws that are changed, then this legislature needs to do that. Some people say, why do we need this?
Okay, so.
Yes.
Okay, if you take a very narrow view, I might say as a person, as my own opinion, so these groups just want to do this so they can harvest more.
It's a sport fishing association that is endorsing it, yeah.
But still, won't the Fish and Wildlife Commission be able to put limits on?
Maybe it will and maybe it won't. What happens here, they could go beyond it at a future time. You people are very smart and you're asking me very difficult questions. Okay, can we move on to 3? Don't say yeah. Legalizing marijuana. This is a citizens initiative. This did not come from the legislature. As a matter of fact, the governor does not want this to happen. It would legalize, there it is. Yada, yada, yada. It would legalize marijuana for adults 21 years and older. It would allow people to possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana, or 5 grams of concentrate. Is how ignorant I was. I didn't know that you could get it concentrated. But that's what this is proposing. The medical marijuana passed in 2016 by a vote of 71% to 29%. It would generate at least $195 million annually once the retail market would be fully operational.
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
Sales tax, yes. And nothing in this section shall permit the operation of a vehicle, aircraft, train, or boat while under the influence of marijuana. Unfortunately, there is no test if somebody gets pulled over as to whether they've had marijuana.
Yeah, well, you still do field sobriety. Thank you. Gretchen.
Okay, but you can't do a blood test. Somebody could just be very clumsy.
If they continue, then you lose your driver's license.
Yeah. All right, so a vote yes would legalize non-medical marijuana for adults 21 years and older and allow possession of up to 3 ounces. A no vote maintains the status quo of this what we have today.
So this will legalize the use of it for
Yes.
personal uses
Yes,
as a Florida thing. The federal law would still be the same
federal law would still be the same.
in opposition to that.
Yes, except that sometimes the federal law decides to prosecute and sometimes they don't.
It applies to federal lands and institutions accepting federal grants.
So don't smoke marijuana on federal land, no matter what. Okay. The vote no maintains the status quo. Who is supporting it? You know. I've got it here.
Question or comment?
But Trulieve has spent almost $50 million to get this passed.
I have a question.
Yes,
The current Central County Sheriff has put out a tutorial, or if it's legit, I'm doing all of these days. And he's basically saying, don't vote for this, that's his opinion, because you can only get your marijuana products through these organizations. You can't grow it at home. Okay? And so he's basically, in my mind, saying, if it's gonna be legal in the state of Florida, why can't you grow your own in your backyard and take your own? Now, obviously, you can't sell it, and you're not supposed to distribute it. So he's saying it's.
this doesn't address that. All it says is that adults over 21 would be able to have marijuana.
But it doesn't say that they have it, but you can only purchase it
From certain.
places.
Right.
I think that's the sticking point.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
I have that too, so you're gonna, you will have all these companies or corporations or whatever are gonna be making millions and millions of dollars because they're going to be making profit.
and one of the pro arguments is that it would be regulated.
Okay, but the side of that is that they believe that a lot of people use various marijuana products legitimately because they haven't had any other prescription medications that have helped.
And that's medical marijuana. That's another thing.
Okay, but some people can't get medical marijuana. Okay, so they use these products and this will again say, oh, you're off the radar, man. You can't get them. No, if you can, but if you vote no, you're back to
Right where it is right now.
where you gotta go to the local drug dealer down the street, get some. Yeah.
Or go through the,
To read what it says, I know you're jumping over it.
I know, you're a glutton for punishment. There it is.
Reduce marijuana, marijuana. So there doesn't say anywhere there that you cannot grow your own marijuana. It doesn't say that. So.
I don't think they're told marijuana legally now, can you, in this county?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
But they want the taxes.
The League of Women Voters has not taken a side on this issue.
That's smart.
Next one, Amendment 4, abortion access. There it is. Peg, would you mind reading this?
No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion.
Thank you, Peg.
The law for Florida now is,
6 weeks, 6 weeks.
does it have any things for patients' health? Or exceptions?
6 weeks. It's 6 weeks.
You're saying there's no exceptions? Like,
I think there are exceptions written into it, but it's impossible to have that done within 6 weeks.
That's the limit for elective abortion, 6 weeks. There are ostensible exceptions for rape, incest,
Right.
and trafficking up to 15 weeks, but it must be proved with a court order or police report. There are ostensible exceptions for severe health risk to the mother or fetal abnormality, but they are unclear through the professionals, the hospitals and the doctor. So there are incidents where proper care does not happen in spite of those.
And to be able to get that through for the medical situation and the legal in 15 weeks is not really,
Well, that's for later, for the, up to the viability typically, but the 15-week limit applies to the pregnancy due to the incest or trafficking.
yeah, it also says here, the current law has exceptions to the 3rd trimester for fatal fetal abnormality.
In theory.
Okay.
I read somewhere, that this, if you vote yes on this amendment, that the person requesting the abortion, regardless of their age, does not have to have parent or guardian approval, but this implies they do.
Yes,
So
it's written right there.
from minor,
For a minor, it's not going to change it.
It says it requires notification to the parent. It doesn't say parent approval. The parent has to be notified.
Are you an attorney? You should have been one.
Doesn't require parental approval according to that language.
So you see, it can be interpreted in many ways.
make it that big so that you don't know. But they have to limit it to 75 words.
This was approved by the judicial system. This is tricky stuff, trying to get it worded just right and get it done. Yes,
Well, it says that the parent is notified before a minor has an abortion, which means that the parents can intervene.
yes,
So it's not that they're notified after.
yes.
No.
Okay, it would guarantee abortion access until fetal viability. And that, I'm going to say this right, I said this wrong yesterday, I said 24 months, 24 weeks. So before 24 weeks, a woman would have a right to get an abortion. And when it's necessary to protect a woman's health. And once again, they said it once, they'll say it twice, that minors would have to have approval of their parents. So a vote yes establishes notification. Establishes duck down here, you folks. Establishes a constitutional right to an abortion before fetal viability. A vote no maintains the status quo of banning abortions in general after 6 weeks. It is supported by, and you can read them, Florida League of Women Voters is supporting this. It is being opposed by, I was so shocked to see Susan B. Anthony on there.
It's an issue.
So that's it. Any questions on that? Peg will take them.
3 and 4, and my question is, I know someone said that the was limited to 75 words. Why is it that certain amendments on this ballot seem to have a really big additional paragraph that sounds like somebody's opinion?
The financial impact statement.
Yeah,
So the amendments that came from the legislature are not required to have that analysis. It's not required for it to appear on the ballot. If it's a citizen initiative, which is Amendment 3 and Amendment 4, then part of the whole process of getting the ballot, the final ballot language is a financial impact statement. And in fact, in this case, there's concern that the financial impact statement for Amendment 4 was written by political appointees. And so the impression you have that its opinion is correct.
and so that's only required when it's a citizen initiative.
Right. If you look at Amendment 3, you see the financial impact statement is all about, well, how much revenue would you expect based on other states and current sales tax, et cetera. So that's more analytical. The one on Amendment 4 is hypothetical.
And I'm throwing this over to Peg because she has been working on this. She knows it inside and out. She probably wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about it.
I noticed that, financial impact opinion about what happens to all the women who are forced to have abortions, who can't afford children, and maybe then go on, well, what about that financial impact?
You mean the women got forced to have a pregnancy?
Yeah,
Because you said abortion.
well, sorry, I meant forced.
It's a little vague on real life issues.
That's kind of the financial impact too, right?
It should be.
I would not try to sell you folks a bridge. Okay, number 5. Annual homestead inflation.
Just because we're on this, the questions about this are very good. And the campaign has produced this fact sheet. It's on the back table. I sent it to everybody in the league, but it has all these definitions and explanations about the financial impact statement. So please take one. I didn't want to put it on your chair because I was trying to say, this is the neutral straight dope to listen here.
So if you haven't received that from Peg because you're not a member, why not?
Back table there, looks like this.
Make a clarification on the exceptions you said ostensibly. I know what that means, but like the time delays, aren't there a certain number of appointments right now? Well,
We have time, Vicky?
Well, nobody's walking out.
One problem with the 6-week abortion ban is that 6 weeks of pregnancy by convention is counted from day 1 of the last menstrual period. Has anyone here had a menstrual period? Okay, so day 1 is the first day of a period. Then the rest of the cycle goes in theory to day 28. So the next menstrual period, in theory, would be day 29 if you're like textbook. So let's say that, if you're not exactly that predictable. So a couple more days go by before you even have a clue that you're missing your period. The limit for the abortion window is 42 days. So now you're already at 32 days and saying something might be going on here. Run until the drugs are so. Now you have, 7 days, 8 days to find an appointment and access the appointment and get the procedure done before day 42. Now the conditions in the 6-week abortion ban are no telemedicine. And we have OBGYN deserts in Florida, so counties with 0 providers. So you might need to plan on like a 100-mile trip if you can get the appointment on time, and you need to stay over 2 days. So you have an intake, you have a procedure. That means transportation, childcare, the funds, and time off work. It makes it an extraordinarily narrow window
And if you have any other questions, please
Yeah.
refer them to Peg at the end. Let's go to the annual homestead inflation adjustment. In 2022, this was rejected. The legislature has brought it up again. And it would require annual adjustments. This would not go for the school district. That's those taxes, it would not affect them. But depending upon the cost of living adjustment, people's property taxes could go down. And they would make the adjustment every January.
They could go up too.
They could.
No. The inflation index can, but the adjustment will never go back down.
So a vote yes would say that there's going to be an annual adjustment rate. And a vote no would keep things the way they are.
But that adjustment rate could be up or down.
It only goes, the adjustment is only in your favor. If the consumer price index goes up high enough, then you could have an increase in your exemption for that year.
And if the consumer price index goes down, I want to smoke what you're smoking.
But it wouldn't change. You don't lose, your exemption,
That margin, your exemption.
Okay, so a vote no would keep things the way they are. Go ahead.
One of the reasons I asked Mo about writing these synopsises on the ballot is because you read this and it sounds, well, it's really good. I'd like to have my percent exemption be higher, and most people that own property would say that. But part of this amendment that nowhere is listed says that this measure would require a 2/3, which is a supermajority vote of the state legislature to approve any new state revenue, taxes, fees, or eliminate tax incentives, loopholes, and other expenditures. It's pretty important. That's part of this amendment. And nowhere is it listed on the synopsis that they provide to the voters. I mean, 2/3, supermajority to change pretty important laws. And this thing is not like all about the Homestead Act. It's not just about the Homestead Act.
Well, one of the things that would happen if this goes into effect is where's the money going to come from local governments?
Yeah, who is behind this? I know it's the Florida legislature, but
Yes.
why do they think this is a good idea?
They might want people to be able to say, oh, you lessened my property taxes. And opposing is the Florida League of Cities. It could leave local governments strapped because where are they going to get? That's the only way they can get money.
You raise a good point about the language. So, citizen initiatives require judicial review by the Florida Supreme Court for single subject and clarity of language. The legislative amendments are also subject to review for clarity, but the amendments arising from other sources don't. So some years you get incredibly jumbled things, but you have to, as you did, go to the fine print. What does this imply? What does it say about it? And some concerns about the amendment process for something that's strictly fiscal is, well, why isn't the legislature just doing it? You know, why are they trying to create an amendment for it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, the Beatles said, living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. Was not talking about anybody in this room. Okay, public.
Stand a comment, maybe that can be about this 2/3. So, yeah, approval of what?
A 2/3, which is a supermajority vote of the state legislature to approve any new state revenue, taxes, fees, or to eliminate tax incentives, loopholes, and other expenditure.
So how does that interface with this amendment? We'll get connected.
Well,
It's an amendment instead of a legislature.
that's if you're voting, yes, that's what you're voting.
Right, that's what he's saying.
Where is it? Florida Policy Institute website.
Okay, but it doesn't say that here.
No, but it's, but in the body of it, it's just a synopsis.
Well, that's what's going to be on your ballot.
Right.
But when these things go into effect, there's a reason that people want them in the Constitution. Because then they can make laws from that, based on the Constitution. Did you have a question?
Yes, it says there is exemption will be applied to the to the value of the homestead between 50 and 75,000. Does that mean the value of the house? Or
It means whatever the value of the house is, there would be a certain amount that would be exempt from taxes.
it's the valuation by the property assessor, it's not your real estate value.
Right, they were.
If you look on your tax bill, you can see what the valuation is for your house, and yeah, it's kind of a middle range.
On the statement that you get every year. Okay, we're going down the home stretch now. Public campaign financing.
Could I say one more thing?
One,
So if you want to see the full text of an amendment, you can go to the Department of State Division of Elections website that Mo referred to. So if you just Google full text of amendments 2024 Florida, and you can see some of this other language, which is quite important.
She also said she had them in her office. That if you want to get her office, she had the form in.
okay. I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired here. There it is. Now, in 1998, Florida voters adopted an amendment for campaign financing with a 64% supermajority. In 2010, the Florida legislature brought it up again, and it failed by 52%. So it would repeal what is in effect now, which is to qualify for public funds, a candidate must not be running unopposed, agree to expenditure limits, and raise $150,000 for gubernatorial candidates and $100,000 for cabinet candidates. A vote yes says voters should make the decision on whether state funds should be spent on helping candidates run for office. A no vote maintains the status quo and allows people that don't have a whole lot of funds to be able to run for office. That's the vote. It came from the legislature. And the organizations are, surprise, the Florida legislature. And the League of Women Voters is opposing this.
I guess, in my mind, one of the reasons that this is so timely is that it's become atrociously expensive for a candidate to run for office. Out of perception for everyday person. So would a no vote on this mean that potentially John Doe could run? Because he can,
John Doe can always run, but he wouldn't get any money from the campaign fund because they want to eliminate that.
Just anybody, right? So it's the case now that you can apply for public. Right.
But if this goes through, then they won't be able to apply for public funds.
It only applies to the top 4 offices. Governor, the Secretary of Agriculture, Agricultural Commission, the CFO, and the Attorney General.
you'd have to have a heck of a lot of public financing to be able to run a campaign to run up offices.
It's big business. Campaigns are big business these days.
Then you have
There is more to this, but it tells you how to vote. Is there anybody here that needs to know how to vote? I didn't think so. Y'all are wonderful.
Here where you go in.
Oh, gee, you kept my brain cells popping here. Thank you, Ted. First I have 4 announcements. Who's been reading the newsletter? Okay. Yeah, I know it's a long newsletter, and I know that you can't memorize everything. Okay, all right, so if you know the answer, raise your hand. Please do not call out. First question, and I have 2 little goodie bags here. What is the most stupid thing anyone ever said to Vicky?
Did you say it?
No, not Peg. No? All right, I'm going to tell you the answer because nobody knows. If you read my article in the last newsletter, many years ago, somebody who was a retired cop said to me, nothing that ever happens in this election is ever going to affect you. Isn't that a stupid thing?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, next question. What?
Exactly, yourself.
Yes, thank you. All right, and the next one is from Rosemary. Whom did Rosemary give a big thank you for helping us to plan and implement our meet and greets? Oh. Oh, gosh. Rosemary, you want to answer that one? The library. Come and get it. Come and get it. Come on. You do it. We appreciate the way you take care of us. Really, one could lose one's mind with all the technology, but whenever I fall, they catch me. All right. I'm going to give you all, I really don't need the chocolate, but I'm going to give you all one more chance. And this is for everybody except Maxine. What is the land swap issue that is going on in Florida now? Oh, you want to go ahead.
So the governor with the Florida Department of Environment Protection decided that there is a swap of land with the Wipper-Tiki State Forest in there that could go to the hold on, go to the Abbott their-owned enterprise to so that they could put condos and then golf course, use that Wipper-Tiki State land for their private green. And then they'll fit with a parcel up in Levy County that is not connected to the Greenway at all. It's just an atrocious use. Yeah. Public lands. Thank you.
I think that was Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thank you. I'm inspired because it's just terrific to have this much discussion about things that are basically the parts of the ballot where you're going, "Oy, what does this mean?" So I appreciate your interest and your preparation because you already know bunches about these things. My announcements have to do with what's coming up. Our November meeting, which is a week after, is this on? Yes. A week after the election is a time for a little playful decompression for us and also time for some creative brainstorming because we want to be thinking about where to go in 2025. So it's called What Next? And that's November 13th, right here.
Please, everybody who's here, come again.
Yeah, you'll be fun. You'll be a lot of fun. So bring your inner child and also your people power wish list. Then in December, we have the holiday luncheon, December 11th at the Glory Days Grill in the Canto. Our guest speaker is going to be David Vincent just found out he has to go away to sheriff's school that whole week. He was all lined up to be our guest. But put the date on your calendar. Reservations will be needed. The last thing I wanted to say, find out or ask is if our board members had announcements. I do. Anybody else?
I do.
Okay, Rosemary?
Yeah, real quick, I'm wearing pink because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, also Domestic Violence Survivors Month, or Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Hopefully, we're all survivors at least first, and also for women's rights. And just the other thing about Amendment 1, as Vicky said, they did take a position. We gave away just about all of these. We had a couple hundred, so everybody must have already taken it. There still looks like 8 or 10 back there.
So the league's position against Amendment 1. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm just repeating. And so, okay, I'll put on my other hat now. So I am the Reproductive Health and Justice Chair for our league chapter. And I've been working on the Yes on 4 campaign. That is the voting in support of Amendment 4. We've had some actions. Last month, September 21st, we got together about 20 people to do postcards. We did over 500 postcards in an hour and a half. And they all got into the mail immediately. I wrote one to myself, a test message, and I received my postcard within a week. That was a terrifically enthusiastic day for us. This Saturday is an informal event. We will be mingling and distributing cards near the farmers market at Liberty Park in Inverness, starting at 10 o'clock, as long or as short as you want it to be, very informal. If you're interested, email me. I can give you one of my cards, so you don't even have to write it down. But if you want more information about it, just email me. I did send it out to all the league members. I'd also like you to, if this is something you feel you want to get involved with, and you don't want to go outside and walk around, from the comfort of your easy chair, you could participate with text or phone banking, and you just go to the campaign, which is yes for numeral 4 FL, yes for FL.com, and look up events, and you can join phone bank, text banking anytime at your convenience. And any other announcements? Maxine, environmental.
Yeah, I just want to. Waiting in the program.
Nora.
Nora, thank you. I just wanted to build on what's calling there. The Sierra Club is watching that. They had a sign-on letter, and any conservation group signed on to this will hold it. It has to go to this acquisition council, and so Sierra Club's been watching the agenda to see when it shows up. So we'll hear more about it when it shows up on the agenda. Thank you, Nora, for bringing that up. There are all.
Very good. Any other announcements? Well, please take your materials with. If you haven't voted already, study up, do your ballot, your sample ballot or your vote by mail ballot at leisure, and get those into the early voting sites or the mail. Okay. Yes, Rosemary.
It's also about Amendment 1. If you haven't heard any full presentations on Families for Strong Public Schools, I'll repeat it, Families for Strong Public Schools. That's it. Go to their website, you can find it and sign up for it. It has is doing an Amendment 1 Zoom, 6 o'clock, Monday evening, the 23rd. And so if you haven't heard the full scoop on it, I will be presenting as part of a panel of students, parents, and electors.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
just wanted to mention that somebody said they couldn't come to our meetings when they're at the regular time. If you're a member, the link is in the newsletter, so you can see it even if you can't be there.
Great. Thank you. And the technology is excellent, as we can tell. So, by the way, there's some merchandise in back. There are yard signs for Yes on 4, if you'd like to take one, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Bumper stickers, literature.
What do they cost?
Free. Okay. Thank you very much.